Today's guest on the corner with Camille Sayed, we have a real treat. A two-time former IBF middleweight world champion, a three-time kickboxing world champion, a community activist, a motivational speaker, and someone who has fought professionally in combat sports for over 4 decades. Sam Soliman, thank you for being on our show today.
Thanks for having us.
Now, Sam, before we get into your illustrious career in kickboxing and boxing and everything that you've done, take me back a bit. Who was Sam growing up in Melbourne as a kid? Who was he?
As a kid, so just martial artist, loved martial arts. Spent a lot of time in the gym as a kid. Whenever school would be over, pack my bags full of the books I don't even need, so the bag would weigh a bit more. Jog to the gym, train, come home. Homework was always second to training. And then that was it. And then just hanging out with the boys. That was a sort of the routine.
And did you get in much trouble in school, or were you a pretty good kid at school?
Yeah, I didn't.
Quite?
Never. I had good parents. I had great parents. So parents were like, you never start one. My dad. My mum disagreed. You never start one, but if someone was to ever put their hands on you, make sure you finish it. You let them know. But I don't teach it that way. Now that I do motivational talks and speaking engagements, and I work with the government and something called Choices campaign. And the best defense to an attack is putting your hands like that, open hands, not shut, because that tells you that you're keen on fighting, even though you're saying I don't want to fight. Hands are up, and you say I'm not interested. That way you can defend. If they do throw a punch, very rarely they do, because they look real silly. If you're doing that and they throw a punch, they look silly. But there's the odd one that's on something that can't help himself. And at least you can parry away and get it out the way and don't stay around and finish it the way.
And with your family life, tell me a little bit about what home life was like growing up. Obviously, you said you had your mum and dad around, so you had stability at home. Brothers and sisters?
Yeah.
Were you close, or were you guys always fighting?
No, we're always close. I'm very lucky. My brother Grant, 3 years younger than me. Lovely kid, heart of gold. He was the super brains of the family. Can fix anything. Something's broken, fix it. Microwave is damaged, fix it. Fix anything. Fridge is broken, fix. Just name the fixer. And my sister, we're like glue together.
Close.
I'm as close to my sister as I am with my daughter in some ways, because we just connected together and always we gelled. And my brother, we just loved playing sport together and all the time. So so I've been lucky to have 2 siblings that I was close with and stayed close with.
It sounds like you're close, very close with your family, so that close environment that you have is kind of like translated into your life. Would that be a fair thing to say?
Thank mum and dad for that. They were onto that. I've had the punch-ups with my brother many a times and set me straight. Dad had set me straight and set him straight, and he'd make us feel regret that we needed to be that way, and then after a month or two of being great, you go back to some little thing annoying, and then it just give you a reminder. But it was a good upbringing. I was happy, a satisfied upbringing, no regret.
Would you say that's what kept you away from the trouble?
Yes,
definitely.
The
gym,
and martial arts, and martial arts. Martial arts is that between my dad's strictness and martial arts helped me stay right away from
all the trouble.
All the trouble. Because, like I said, when I was 16 to 20, someone was to have a crack, I'd have a crack straight back every time instead of walking away, and got me in trouble. Got me hurt, broken hands, breaking something. Getting in a fight, win, lose or draw, you're still going to lose, because you think you won until you get knocked out on the side from someone that hit you from the side, or you're going to fine, or you're in jail, or you're anything could happen. So fortunately, nothing happened. But if it did, I got away with it. Yeah.
And how did martial arts come about and boxing come about? So if I'm not mistaken, at 13 years old you started boxing, and at 15 you had your first amateur fight, correct?
Yeah.
Where did this boxing come from? Was your father a boxer? Was there boxing in the lineage? Where?
Yeah,
or even any sort of martial arts? Where did it come from?
I was a big fan of Sugar Ray Leonard, Pernell Whitaker, and all my favorite, my old-time favorites.
Yeah.
And I used to watch him and mimic him. And actually, used to have a fun thing I used to do in my amateur fights. You'll like this. You probably haven't heard this before from anyone. I used to go back to the corner, and then I'd want to mimic my favorite fighters. So I'd go, I'm going to be a Hector Camacho this round. Yeah. So I'd do the Hector Camacho's technique, dance, combination type, etc.
Yeah.
Go back to the corner. I feel like doing a Pernell Whitaker this round. I feel like doing an Ali this round. And like, I always made it fun. And when you make something fun, you get better at it.
Yeah.
Because you do it because you want to. And when you do something because you want to, you do it even better again. Yeah.
That sounds like genuinely from a very young age, from the very early days in your boxing career or martial arts career, you loved it. Pure love, nothing else.
It's a lot of 84 amateur fights, a lot of fights.
84 amateur fights, over 60 pros, a ton of kickboxing fights. It's an incredible career. I think you're one of the very few selected fighters that have fought across 4 decades, which is quite incredible. The 90s, the noughties, teens, and now the 20s. So it's quite incredible. I want to ask, as we start to move in towards your professional career, your second fight, you fought 12 rounds. Tell me, where's the thinking, the logic, the reasoning behind that? Yeah,
it's funny. When I came to America in the age 23, which was 27 years ago. And people would say, so what's your record? And I'd say 2-2. And they're, oh, yeah, he's one of those boxers. He's just going to be one of those journeymen. 2-2. We've got all these undefeated fighters. But then they'd say, so you've had a few 4-rounders. I said, no. I had 3 12-rounders and a 4-rounder. They said, you had a what? no one ever believed it.
Yeah.
It was unheard of. Even now, till today, it's unheard of. And again, having no management is part of the reason why that 2-2 was what it was, 2 wins, 2 losses, because I've thrown in the deep end from day one.
Yeah.
And it didn't bother me none. I learned from it.
Yeah. You're a fighting man. It sounds like you were happy to take on any challenge.
Happy to take on any challenge anywhere. And of course, the guy 2-2, my first fight, the guy had 1 fight, 1 win, and I had no fights. Second fight, the guy had 14 wins, 4 losses. And it was my second fight. The third fight, the guy's 27-2, Kevin Kelly.
Yeah.
And the fourth fight was Glenn Kelly, 28-0, undefeated.
Wow.
And they're my first 4 fights.
That's incredible. Yeah. It's very rare. It's basically impossible that you'll see that now. Definitely rare. And it sounds like, obviously, you've gone from straight into 12-rounders in your second fight, and out of your first 4 fights, a lot of them were 12-rounders.
Yeah.
So something you had that's indicative of your style is a big engine and a high volume, a high punch output. How did that come about? Like, what did you train to develop those sorts of attributes? Because anyone would want to know. What's the secret to that? How have you maintained those attributes?
Yeah, so I don't want to advise this to any kids because it's not a good thing to do. It's a wrong thing to do. And if I could change anything in my life, I would change it so that I would adjust it so that I have a balance. I didn't have a balance. I'd go to school and sometimes sneak out halfway through because I had a school that was so you could get away with that. Not these day and age.
Yeah.
And I'd just go to the park and train.
During school hours?
During school hours. Sneak back in one of the classes. Got caught a few times and got in trouble a few times, but it is what it is. I got in trouble and got over it and copped the detention. And then I'd get it, a week or 2 down the track, I'd slowly start doing it again.
Wow.
And so before training, I'd run. before training. Before school, I'd run.
Yeah.
During school, I'd sneak a few sessions in, and then at night, when finished school,
yeah,
have the heavy bag full of everything in it, run to the gym, train, and then come home, do homework. And
so you lived the life.
all I did.
It's not like you just trained, went home, did
Yeah.
your own thing. You were living the life,
Living
even
the
during
life.
school. Most kids, when they're wagging school, they do it to like go drinking or smoke or whatever, but you were doing it to train.
Yeah, like I even had a routine. I'd go to the park and I'd use everything in the park. So I'd say the swings, what can I do with the swings? Okay, the splits. So I'd put one foot in that swing, one foot in the other thing and drop it. I can pass the 180.
Yeah.
So I'm like that. So instead of being just flat, I'd be like that because I'm already can do that. So how do I go further? Just to make that flexibility to be able to kick faster to the head. I'd do the swing up 45, so I'd be the slide so that I can be on an incline to do the sit-ups. I'd use the tire that you sit on, the kids sit on.
Yep.
I'd push it aside, push it away, come back and kick it with my shins to toughen the shins. I just made it up as I went along.
Yeah.
The flying fox. I'd come up there, I'd do I'd slide across and I'd do leg raises while I'm doing it. And I'd do one-handed chin-ups on the way back. And because it's in movement, it's hard to stabilize.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just if the flying fox is still, then it would be a little easier. So I just made things up as I went along.
It sounds like you're able to adjust with your workouts as a kid as well. You're very aware of what you were and what you weren't doing. You're able to make adjustments. Well, that makes me, that brings me to my next question with the adjustments and the creativity that you had. How did you find it transitioning from kickboxing to boxing?
Yeah, like
because
people
that's
say,
not
what's
easy.
the hardest sport in the world? You do the hardest sport in the world, boxing. I said, almost. You're almost right. It's the second most hardest sport in the world, and the hardest sport in the world is the four weapons: elbows, knees, punches, kicks. This is before MMA was the big thing.
Yeah.
I think MMA now is the toughest, and then the hardest, and then Thai boxing, and then because it's submission, and then in MMA, and then boxing. So now because boxing's gone to third toughest sport in the world.
How was your transition? What did you feel like you needed to work on? Because stylistically, as a fighter, you're quite unique, extremely unique. There aren't many Sam Solomons out there. It's a very difficult style to replicate, and to have the engine to replicate it, it's near impossible. Yeah. So how did you transition from kickboxing to boxing to have the style that you have? What did you work on? Who helped you?
So the for mentally for me, what gave me the advantage to be able to box and let it work for me, let the kickboxing work for me to be a better boxer instead of the other way around. Now I haven't got my kicks. Now I haven't got my elbows. Now I haven't got my knees. It's going to be tougher. Instead, I reversed psychology to myself and said, now, when the reason it's the hardest sport in the world, kickboxing, boxing, is because lifting your legs, your heaviest muscle in your body is your legs. Your strongest muscle is your brain, but the heaviest muscle is your legs. Whop, whop, whop. You throw 30 seconds of non-stop kicks on both legs. Do that, have a break, minute, then do it again. By your third set, you won't be able to do any more.
Yeah.
Run a hill for 20 minutes as hard as you can.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely spent. It still doesn't compare to the kicks you did.
Yeah.
The kicks would smash you in 4 minutes of kicking is harder than 20 minutes up a hill. Right. Harder.
Yeah.
No question. So I didn't stop kicking. I still kicked, but only in the gym. Okay. So that when I boxed and people would watch and go, what are you kicking for? Why not train specific to boxing? Because I wanted to have that advantage. So instead of the transition being a problem, because I'm not a boxer, I'm a kickboxer, the styles are different, I stuck with my style of boxing in the kickboxing.
Okay.
And put in my mind that I'm going to be better because I'll be able to have the advantage of things like the kicks,
right,
the harder fitness. In my mind, instead of I haven't got that weapon to kick no more, I've got that chin that can handle a kick to the head.
Yeah.
So I should be able to handle a boxing.
So your transition, would it be fair to say that it was based off, you still kept your kickboxing components, you're still training kickboxing,
Yes.
so you had the strength and the endurance in your legs for boxing.
You put in the best.
Yeah.
I put it in detail. He's that's why he does what he does. I do what I do.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
But I also want to move on to some of the great fights that you've had. Like there's a million to pick. We'll be here for hours if we went through all of them. But you fought Choc 3 times. You fought other world champions like Sakio Bika, Winky Wright on short notice. I wanted to talk to you predominantly about the fight against Felix Sturm. You're number 1 with the IBF. You go there to fight in Germany. Now it's a very difficult system over there, but you get an upset win against Felix Sturm.
Most would say impossible, not because it never happens. So
you did the impossible. You got the decision, and then not long after, your A sample allegedly comes back with traces of a banned substance.
Yeah.
Now you're ridiculed in the media. It's declared a no contest. You're ridiculed in the media.
Yes.
Your title's taken off you.
Yes.
And then how will people around you perceive you as now a drug cheat? How did that unfold, and how were you during that period?
Very painful moment, painful time in terms of knowing that I didn't cheat, and 95% of athletes who have been caught with cheating and said they didn't cheat, 95% of them did because whatever's in the A sample is going to be in the B sample. So in my mind, everyone's going to know that, Sam, you're in the 95%. I'm pretty sure you, and on top of all that, you're at the age you are doing what you're doing. No wonder you're doing what you're doing. It's not what you've been saying. Have a diet, health, fitness, sacrifices equals success, hard training, training smarter, all that stuff you've been saying. You've been on some special drug.
Yeah.
Anyway, so fortunately, I had a friend who, she a former FBI agent. She knew everyone in Germany, in every profession, and she's just a remarkable lady, Nadia Goals, and she put me on to the lawyer of all lawyers, and the most expensive lawyer that we can get. A piece of gold, that much urine in there, in a little thing like that, cost me 55 grand in terms of sending it to America.
Yep.
To be tested by, which they didn't allow that in Germany, but my lawyer had the powers to do that. The lawyer's costs and all that came up to 55 US dollars, but
55,000?
Yeah, 55,000, but worth every dollar.
Yeah.
It got brought back, tested negative for anything they said it was in terms of, they said it was performance enhancing. It wasn't. They said this is by the professionals in America, the head of the drug, and they said that is a banned substance. He went through the deepest of detail. Wasn't a banned substance. It's banned in Olympics because it's a fat burner. It burns fat.
Yeah.
But which I didn't get it for that. I got it for energy. It was called Actylophren.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have that nor anything. So anyway, so I got exonerated.
Yeah.
Kept my number 1 spot because it wasn't for the world title that we fought the first time. It was for the number 1 spot to fight for the world title.
Correct.
So he fought for the world title. He won the world title because I was in the process of the law.
Yeah.
Then I got exonerated. So I kept my number 1 spot. Thanks to the IBF for allowing me to keep the number 1 spot until the result came up whether I was or wasn't guilty. If I was guilty, I'd get dropped. If I'm innocent, I keep the number 1 spot and I get to fight for that world title that I beat him for the first time.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you can imagine how I went the second time around.
Got a good revenge.
I changed good revenge. The amount of how good's karma came from how many 100,000 people.
I want to take it back just a slight bit. That moment that you were exonerated, how did you find out? Take me back to that moment where you found out you were exonerated and they'd proved that you hadn't done it, you hadn't cheated, you were no longer banned. Tell me that exact moment you found out. What was it like?
And
Where
everyone
were
wants
you?
to hear a happy fairy tale story, but I'm going to have to put a bit of a spanner in the works with that because I was still hurt.
Yeah.
I'm exonerated, but I was hurt, not for me personally hurt. Like, you know, it is what it is. What happened, happened. And getting exonerated and getting the shot of the world title should have taken away the pain. But what it didn't take away was how many kids and how many schools. I've gone to hundreds of schools.
Yeah.
How many speaking engagements I've done at football clubs for sportsmen, and they all would have come, obviously, logically, they all would have thought the same thing. It wasn't some special, it wasn't some diet and health and fitness he keeps talking about. All that time was some special substance. So that's really what really smashed me, and it was hard to get over that part. But in saying that, winning that world title, there is no better high, there's no better experience, there's no better rush, no better dream come true. Apart from Samir and Cleopatra, my two kids being born, there's nothing that compares to it. And I can't explain it. You know, only feel it and love it. Yeah.
And what was that moment like in the ring? I know you said you can't explain it, but just the adulation of you've rematched him. It's for the world title with the same commission who've arguably mucked around with your A sample.
Everything was exactly the same, except I just trained a house down. I lived with a man that he took me in. His name is John Locko. He took me in with him when I was 2010, 2009.
Yeah.
And as I lived with him for 4 of the 7 days of the week while I'm in training, and then 3 days with my family, then 4 days back with him, instead of people traveling to America, wherever I was able to be close to my family because I'm only half an hour drive away. And he took me in, and he's the original iceberger of Australia. And he's an incredible man. And I used to do the ice baths with him, my diets with him, everything was with him. So I lived with someone, you know who you are, who you hang out with.
Yeah, correct.
I lived with someone who was in his 60s, in his late 60s, and he inspired me with what he did at that age, and I inspired him with this young, hungry for a world title team. And he traveled the world with me. We trained together, we lived together. He's with me today. Yep. So look out, Walters, he's with me today.
Well, I'd also love to know, like, after you got your world title, you arguably got a 3-fight deal, incredible 3-fight deal, which would have paid you good sum of income, which is what all fighters essentially at one point or another do it for. You're able to fight Dominic Wade, Jermaine Taylor, and Derevianchenko. Now, arguably, there were 3 losses back-to-back, but they were at the absolute elite of the elite level. Now, you've been paid well. You've been a world champion. You've fought the best out there. Why do you still continue, Sam?
Yeah,
why?
so
you have nothing left to prove.
Super great question, and a super great answer coming your way. I've been told probably 3 billion times. There's not a million. I've been told, Sammy, why are you still doing it for the same? And I've given him the same answer. And there's no, there's no trying to find a way to make someone understand. I just say it simple. I'm doing it because I love it.
Yeah.
Not for the money. A lot of these fighters that do it for the sportsmen that do things for the money.
Yeah.
Not for the fame. I don't need pats in the back. I've been with the money. I've had the pats in the back. I've had all that stuff. So why would I still be doing it if I've had all that stuff? It's almost like sounds like greedy.
Yeah.
But then, is it greedy to want to do what you love? I mean, give me an answer. Is it greedy to do?
Nah.
So, in saying that, if it's not greedy to want to do what you love and you're doing it, if you're going to let the naysayers say to you, no, you can't, dangerous.
Yeah.
Mate, if it wasn't for this sport, the danger would have been the trouble I had as a kid.
Yeah.
The danger would have been I chose to race a motorbike or whatever.
Yeah.
And which is more dangerous,
Yeah.
And then at the age 30, I've been gotten away with murder for how many years around this racetrack with my motorbike.
Yeah.
Sooner or later,
It's going to catch up.
it's going to catch up and pop. I'm dead.
It seems like you still have remnants of that young kid who was skipping school to go training, that love and passion you had. now you're 50 years old, you're still competing professionally. There's still remnants of that child who loves the combat sports. You still have it now to this day,
Important.
which I guess is what's keeping you going at such an older age, to still stay active and want to compete, be competitive. Just got a couple last quick questions for you.
Just before you just want to add.
Please go for it.
It's very important, the skipping school part, to all who are listening out there. If I would, and I'm saying this straight from the heart, from the man upstairs, the Lord, that to this day I swear that I would change that only part of my life. If I had to change anything, it'd be that education is the key. Again, John Lucko, the man that my mentor, and David Stanley, a mentor who would have said many times to me, education is the most powerful. At the age 44, winning a world title, imagine having that at the age 24.
Yeah.
Why didn't I get at the age 24 and I was beating so many champions? Because of the politics through education. The guys who are up there with the promotional side of things, educated high and would just know how to swivel things around legally and the process, etc. And that's why I would change. And so education is everything.
Yeah, 100%. It's extremely important. As I say, power is knowledge. Knowledge comes from education.
Yeah.
A couple of quick questions before we start getting to the final phase and wrapping up. Obviously, you're on the US Contender.
Yeah.
Tell us about that experience, because you got the likes of De La Hoya, Ray Leonard, just greats of the sport.
Yeah.
How was that experience to be around them and surrounded by them? And Sakio, obviously.
Yeah.
What was it like?
Yeah, it was really, really super special. Thanks again to David Stanley for pulling every string he could to make sure I get on that show, and he did, and it was great. And between him and a guy named Stuart Duncan, back in the day, God rest his soul. So we got on that show, and got to meet a guy that Sugar Ray Leonard, as I said, I used to mimic him as a kid.
Yeah.
To one day hang out with him and have a skipping rope contest with him and all sorts of stuff. The TV series, The Contenders, it was like the Big Brother house. You all live in the same house together. And the concept of the show was you can hang out, best friends with a guy, and then all of a sudden, when the near halfway through the show, they'll choose who fights who. You've just been hanging out with this person, all of a sudden you're going to switch hands with him. You're going to go toe to toe. But it's to show that after the fight, 90% of us, we're always best friends after it. We respect each other for what we do, the hard work it takes to get there, except for the odd one or two that had the arguments in there, which is all part of the show and fun. But yeah, that was a great experience. Great experience hanging out with the Sugar Ray. Yeah.
And Sam, as we get to the final stage now, I'd love to know, you've done everything in the game there is to do, almost in combat sports, in kickboxing, in boxing. You've done everything. You still continue to fight. You still love it. You still have passion for it. When you look back at your career, what do you want your legacy to be? When your son and your daughter, 13 years old now, 7 years old, when they are old enough to understand who Dad is, what do you want them to say about Dad? What do you want What do you want your legacy to be?
He taught us the biggest and most important lesson of all the lessons I've ever taught over the years is, one age 13 and one age 6, is when you're doing something you love and you're passionate about it, don't let anyone stop you doing it. If someone says to you, this is impossible, or this is you should try this instead, and you're passionate about, and you're passionate about a dream of something you love, stick with it. Don't let no one stop you doing it. Yeah.
Sam Soliman, thank you very much for coming on the today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.